You're listening to WTMFI 67.42 FM Chicago.
Good evening, all you weird and wonderful beings, and welcome to WTMFI 67.42 FM Chicago. This is TJ Vanpool, aka Turbo TJ, reporting to you live on TikTok. Tonight, WTMFI is your resource for Star Wars Fact of the Day weekly review. During the week, we bring you a Star Wars fact Monday through Friday. Then on Sunday, we do a live review of all the facts, bringing you all the information we've researched from StarWars.com and Wikipedia.com. I hope you'll stick with us through this show and take part in the chat as we move through the facts. Now, a little bit about your host. Me! I'm a diehard Star Wars fan. I've been a fan since I was born and just in diapers. But not just of the movies of the original trilogy. I have been following Star Wars since I was a kid, starting with the original trilogy, but I didn't lose that interest at the end of that trilogy. My passion for Star Wars made it part of my whole self, and I fueled that with books, comics, reading, additional research, and all of the expanded universe that allowed me to expand my knowledge and lore of the Star Wars universe. I was a diehard fan of the expanded universe, and I've continued that right on through, but I've just limited it now due to the fact that most of the expanded universe is no longer canon, and the canon is consistently changing, so it's forced me to actually take stock of everything that I encounter so that I don't accidentally start into something that is no longer canon, and I research into it, and it turns out, oh wait, that is no longer canon. So my entire self is focused on not just the canon, but also everything else that's involved in Star Wars. So I'm all about all the different things from the movies, the TV shows, the books that have come out that are actually part of the canon, which is hard to discern because it is consistently changing. So thank you all for coming in so far. For those of you that are in, please announce yourself in the chat and start tapping that screen. Everything that you can do helps me with my show, and I really appreciate for everybody that comes in and wants to chat with me about Star Wars, because I love Star Wars. Everything about Star Wars I'm a fan about, from, like I said, the TV shows, the movies, the books, the comics. I've read so much and I've researched so much that most of it is no longer canon, but that doesn't stop me. I am still as hardcore into Star Wars as anything else. And I've got plenty of fandoms to get involved in, but Star Wars is my go-to. It is my absolute favorite, because it was the first fandom I ever got involved with. I mean, yeah, when I was a kid, I played with Hot Wheels and other toys and stuff like that, but Star Wars was my focal point. It was some of the first toys I ever had when I was a kid, and my passion for it has never gone away. So Star Wars is always going to be what I am passionate about. So please feel free to talk about or bring up something from Star Wars, because I have no problem talking about it, and I will spend all day talking about it. I mean, I have no problem talking about Star Wars nonstop, getting into it, going into the facts, going into the lore, and not just that, but also the toys. I absolutely love the figures and the ships and all that kind of stuff. I've collected this stuff for years. I have my own collection of my own. I'm big into Lego Star Wars right now. It's one of my favorite things to go and pick up in the stores. I've already done one build this week with Star Wars Fact of the Day. I started doing one. One of the facts that I'm going to be covering is Lego Star Wars. Nay, welcome in. Cargo ship, welcome in. Because I absolutely love Star Wars, and I'm looking forward to chatting with as many people as possible about Star Wars. And without further ado, let's get into the first fact of this week that I actually covered on Monday. Star Wars Fact of the Day. Astromech Droids are a series of versatile utility robots generally used for the maintenance and repair of starships and related technology. These small droids are often equipped with a variety of tool-tipped appendages that are stowed in recessed compartments. The R2 unit is a popular example of an Astromech droid. Many starfighters relied on Astromech co-pilots to control flight and power distribution systems. Sitting in an Astromech socket exposed to space, the droid, in addition to its piloting duties, could calculate hyperspace jumps and perform simple repairs. The Astromech was a mix between an astromech and a medical droid. Most astromechs were only able to communicate in writing, conveyed via another computer system or through a special code of clicks, beeps, and other sounds known as binary. Funnel Cake, welcome in. Astromech droids average 0.93 meters in height, while the R series droids from the R2 line forward had a height of just over a meter. However, the Astromech P2 stood around the same height as a human. R series droids have 3 wheeled legs. The later BB series Astromech droids were spherical, giving them the ability to roll. Some astromechs, such as the OC-JK14, were moved on treadwheels. Excuse me. Though this style was once popular on the Outer Rim territories, it had fallen out of favor by 35 ABY. The R2 series unit R2D2 was perhaps the most famous astromech droid in galactic history. So I really just wanted to do something with the astromech droids. The droids are some of my favorites from Star Wars, not just because they're fun and the beeps and whirs and all that kind of stuff is good, but the primary reason why is the droids are the storytellers. It has already been verified that R2D2 is one of the primary storytellers of Star Wars. He is pretty much, his memory is consistent throughout all of the events of Star Wars. I mean, R2D2 was present from Phantom Menace all the way through to the Rise of Skywalker. So you see all these different astromechs throughout Star Wars, but R2D2 was the one that actually chronicled everything, and is also theorized by many that the intro scroll that you see at the beginning of the movies, that is R2D2 telling the story. Gavin, welcome in. And I always love that theory because that means that the droids, similar to most computer systems, the ones that last the longest are the ones that chronicle the history. And it's just really cool that the droids are the ones that actually do that. And because astromechs are pretty much deployed throughout the entire galaxy and do so much of the maintenance and repair and service on the systems, that they're the ones that actually view and see everything and know what's going on throughout the galaxy. And it's an interesting thing that we actually got a little taste of this in the Mandalorian series when Bo-Katan and Din Djarin and Grogu go to the planet Plizar 15 and they have to encounter the malfunctioning droids. The droids actually say that they want to assist. They want to be a part of something because they were the ones who were built and they want to take part in the society because human life is so limited and it only lasts for so long, but they will remain. Which basically, I really love that aspect, is that for so much in our society right now, everybody's afraid of robots because they're afraid they're going to take over society and stuff like that. Frog Seeker, welcome in. And that's something that people shouldn't have to worry about, but it's a big worry for so many people that robots are going to take over the world and the human beings are going to become obsolete and stuff like that. But there's no reason for it to be like that. You know, you could look at it as a droid as literally a walking computer. You know, just as like you have your cell phone that you keep with you, you could just as easily have a droid that's doing the exact same thing, except it's helping you out in a positive way. You know, it doesn't have to be a negative thing. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to do droids, because they're just so cool. And honestly, some of the droids are just really interesting. Dino Truck, welcome in. And I really love some of my favorite droids are the astromechs. Like, you've got Chopper, you've got Buckethead, you've got R2D2, you've got BB-8, you've got R5. I mean, there's so many great astromechs to get behind, and there's so many to enjoy. Not to mention just having, you know, the figures and stuff that you can get of the droids. And I love whenever I get to go to the cons. That's one of my favorite things when I go to C2E2 or any of the comic or nerd cons and stuff like that. You always see a droid or a robot or something like that. Most of the time it's a sale thing, but you always can see someone who's modeled one or built one. And there's so much fun to look at, and just the interactions that you get from them, they're just so much fun. That's one of the reasons why I really wanted to cover this, because they're one of the quintessential things about Star Wars that is universally accepted as a symbol of Star Wars, is the droids, and I just love that. Okay, moving on to the next fact of the day. Star Wars fact of the day. Mother Talzin, a Zobrak Dathomirian, and the spiritual shaman and guide of Dathomir's Night Sisters during the Clone Wars, held enormous power on her homeworld and wielded the strange magics of the Night Sisters. It was Talzin who unified the Night Sisters into a single clan. She sold the services of the Night Sisters in the galaxy's wealthy and powerful, but wasn't above backstabbing any clients who treated her clan with disrespect. she gained the notice of Darth Sidious, who came to Dathomir ostensibly to trade dark side force teachings with Talzin and take her as his own Sith apprentice. Instead, the Sith Lord abducted Talzin's son Maul and took him as his apprentice in her place. She was unable to rescue him and thus remained on Dathomir to plot her revenge against Sidious and his Sith. When the Clone Wars between the Republic and Confederacy of Independent Systems erupted 10 years later, Talzin began targeting Count Dooku, the leader of the conspiracy and the newest apprentice to Lord Sidious. Asajj Ventress, a Night Sister turned Sith apprentice, had been betrayed by Dooku and returned to Dathomir to seek Talzin's help in exacting revenge. Talzin's assisted Ventress, but also laid the work to assist Dooku with the new apprentice, Savage Opress. Opress would ultimately fail to kill Dooku. The world of Dathomir was then invaded by Dooku's droid armies shortly thereafter, and nearly all of the Night Sisters were wiped out by the Confederate General Grievous and his forces. With the exception of a child called Mirren, Morgan Elsbeth, and Ventress, and Talzin herself. Weakened, the elder Night Sister fled into the spirit world to survive. Several attempts were made by Talzin to restore herself to the physical world, including possession of Count Dooku after being captured by Maul. This would also result in failure, and Mother Talzin would finally pass into the living force and ending her Night Sister coven on Dathomir for now. I really wanted to cover Mother Talzin because her character is just so unique, and she ties so much together with so much that happens in Star Wars. From, the aspect that she is the mother of Darth Maul, and that her origins on the planet Dathomir are basically the formation of the clan of Night Sisters that we encounter in the Clone Wars. And of course, there's the tie-in from here that is also, welcome in, that Merrin from Fallen Order, she actually was a member of this clan. Morgan Elspeth, who we have encounters with through Mandalorian and the Ahsoka series, as well as Underworld. It's so many different characters and arcs are started with Mother Talzin, and it's awesome that we get to encounter them, and that so much is tied with her, and that the whole aspect that I really like about the Night Sisters is that they are basically another faction of the Force that isn't part of the Sith, and that isn't inherently evil. That's the other thing. And that's what I really love about this. Obi-Wan, welcome in. Thanks for the taps. And the really interesting aspect about Mother Talzin is that she ties so much together with the Sith. Even though she's not part of the Sith, she connects with them. Hey, how's it going? And I really wanted to cover her with this because I've been trying to cover and learn as much as I can about the Night Sisters, because I know that they are going to play a major part in the upcoming Ahsoka Season 2. I don't know to what extent, but I know that she's going to be part of it. And they've already recognized Talzin from Ahsoka Season 1 because they had Morgan Elspeth inherited the sword of Talzin. And I'm really hoping that because she was defeated, that Morgan Elspeth is going to come back as a spirit of the Night Sisters. Now, I don't know if she'll be able to regain her body, because unfortunately her body is going to be back on the other planet. But because she died on that planet where the original mothers are from, I'm wondering if her spirit might still be there. So there's a good chance we could see Morgan Elspeth again, in addition to everybody else. And Talzin herself could actually make an appearance in Ahsoka Season 2. So me personally, and I know there's a lot of other fans, are really hoping we'll finally get the crossover from video game into live action for Fallen Order, because Mirren has been, and she's the Night Sister from Fallen Order. There's a lot of people that are hoping that she's going to cross over, because there's so much material with the Night Sisters coming in now. I mean, we had them in Acolyte, and now we're actually getting We got them in the Clone Wars. We got them in Ahsoka. So there's so much material of the Night Sisters that's finally coming into the primary canon of Star Wars. I mean, I was a little disappointed we didn't get any of them in the sequel series, but I'm holding out hope that the sequel series could just easily bring in the Night Sisters for the next round of movies. I mean, we'll have to wait and see with the next sequel Star Wars movie that's supposed to be coming out, which I know that's coming out in, I think, a year. It's that Star Wars Space Race or something like that. I can't remember the name of it, unfortunately. Starfighter. That was it. Star Wars Starfighter. And I know that's coming out in a couple of years. It might be next year. I'm not 100% sure on that. But I know it is coming out. And, of course, we've got Season 2 of Ahsoka coming out. So I'm sure we're going to get more of the Night Sisters in that season. And I'm really looking forward to the more material. And I know I'm not the only one. There are tons of Night Sister fans that are fans of in Star Wars. And I know they're going to be really looking forward to when that material comes out. Because I know I am. And if I'm looking forward to it, then others are looking forward. Pepperidge Farm, welcome in. Lady Deadpool, welcome in. Hu Yang, welcome in. Thanks so much for all of you for coming in. And keep tapping on the screen. If you want to support me with my life goal, please do. Dot, welcome in. Farvi, welcome in. So I'm just moving through. I just finished up Mother Talzin, and we're going to move on to the next fact of the day. Star Wars, this is the one from Wednesday. Star Wars fact of the day. Anzellans are a diminutive sentient species. Their size was comparable to infant members of other species. The eyes of Anzellans had floating corneal microlenses that could see microscopic details. They are known throughout the galaxy as some of the best droidsmiths, capable of reprogram and modifying virtually any droid, regardless of the security measures protecting its systems. A group of Anzellans made a decent living on Navarro doing droid repairs for High Magistrate Grief Karga and also for Mandalorian Din Djarin, eventually fully restoring an IG assassin droid to become IG-11 Marshal of Navarro. Bean, welcome in. Another well-known Anzellan, Babu Frick, assisted the Resistance fight against the First Order by accessing forbidden Sith information from Protocol Droid C-3PO's memory. Now, unfortunately, they haven't given a whole lot of information about the Anzellans. You do get a little bit more screen time with them from Mandalorian and Grogu. So I highly recommend for anybody who likes the Anzellans and really loves their abilities to definitely check them out. But the Anzellans are so interesting, and this information I found out about the floating micro lenses, it's something that I mentioned here, is that because of that, that means they're able to do so much more intricate work than most other species in the galaxy. I mean, obviously, there's other species in the Star Wars galaxy that are just as good with working with droids than others. An example is the Ugnaughts, who I've always wondered if the Ugnaughts and the Anzellans had ever worked together. Because in Plazar 15 and at the beginning of the Mandalorian series, we have multiple encounters with the Ugnaughts, and we actually see them also in The Empire Strikes Back and a few other shows and stuff like that. And I've always wondered about that is, you know, ever since the Anzellans came on, is that you usually find out about the Ugnaughts being the ones who are specialists in droids. But that's not, you know, it doesn't seem to be the only droid smiths in the galaxy. So I just thought it was interesting that we get this whole new species. Vanessa, welcome in. That is not only just absolutely adorable. I mean, these guys are literally small enough to fit in your hand, which I just think is so cool. But that they're also so skilled at their droid crafting that they were able to do so much. And I love that we got introduced to Babu Frick in Rise of Skywalker, and then that they decided to bring them into the Mandalorian series, which was really cool because then we get a whole nother aspect to this species. And, you know, how they go into detail and how they're able to do repairs and stuff like that. And all that they need is the parts. Even if the parts are no longer functioning, they can still put them back together and make them work. So I just thought that was so cool. And what they do, and this is the other reason why I mentioned seeing Mandalorian and Grogu, is because I saw the movie and the Anzellans are so cool in the movie. So that's another reason why I recommend to people to get a chance to go and see Mandalorian and Grogu, because it was so good. And I know Mandalorian and Grogu didn't do very well in the theaters. Excuse me. And I know that there's a lot of people who, couldn't go to the movies because of the prices. And also some people were, doing it because they didn't want to support Disney and all that. And I understand that. I absolutely do. I totally get that. But at the same time, it's like, it's Star Wars. It's a movie of Star Wars, and it was in the movie theater. So I can't help it if I'm going to go and see a Star Wars movie in the movie theater. I'm sorry. Star Wars movies were always meant to be seen in the movie theater. And I learned that through so many movies that I wish I had seen in the theater, and I missed out on the effects and all that because I saw it at home. And honestly, I'm not doing it's regardless of any Star Wars movie. If it's in the theater, I'm gonna go see it. So Mandalorian and Grogu, there's no stopping me from going and seeing that movie. I was gonna go see it in the theater. There was nothing that was gonna stop me. Now, I'm not saying that everybody else should have done it, because it's not easy for everybody to go to movies. I get that. Not especially in the economy right now. It's not easy to be able to fork out that much money to go to the theater and see the movies. I totally get that, and I don't hold it against anybody for doing that. So, but I always recommend, if people want to get the full effect, especially with a Star Wars movie, they were all made to be seen in movie theaters. That was just the way they were done. So it's totally fine if people don't go to the movie theater and see it. It's absolutely fine. It's going to be on Disney Plus soon. It's also going to be available on hard disk, so people can, go out and purchase it for themselves. So I always recommend people do that, because especially with the way things are now, with the way media is going, and you no longer own the thing if it's on digital format. Yeah, you have to have your own hard copy if you want to make sure that you have your own copy. So I always recommend that to people. If you love something, go out and get yourself a copy, so that way, no matter what, you're going to have a copy of it. Because the disc technology, as much as people say it's gone, it's not gone. It's coming back. I mean, there's a reason why I still have my PS2 and PS3 here with the rest of my old game systems, because I know those systems are going to continue functioning, and we're going to need them. DVD players, VHS players, honestly, I'd say hold on to them, just because eventually, at some point, the original streaming services are going to make it so that you can't watch the stuff. If you don't want to pay for the streaming services anymore and you made purchases through them, you might not have access to your stuff. So I always recommend, if you can get yourself a physical copy, I recommend it. You should have a physical copy to make sure you're able to hold on to it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next fact of the day, which is the one that I'm really excited for, because there was a lot more involved with this one. So I want to make sure that I cover it properly, and I'm going to do one more thing here. I want to turn on my additional camera. Let's make sure it works. There we go. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was up before I went into the fact. Okay, Star Wars fact of the day. Lego Star Wars Part 1. A Lego theme based on the Star Wars media franchise and fictional universe created by George Lucas. The product line directly focuses on the Star Wars characters from the films and TV series. Originally, it was only licensed from 1998 to 2009, but the Lego Group extended the license with Lucasfilm first until 2011, then until 2016, then again until 2020, and then once more until 2032. As of June of 2026, it includes 1,051 Lego building toy sets, 1,590 Lego minifigures, an eponymous video game series containing 6 games, and a multitude of animated short films and television series. This was the first time that Lego partnered with an outside license. It also was one of Lego's best-selling themes that year, which was 1998. Lego had returned a loss in 1998 and was looking for something to turn a profit. Lucasfilm was pushing for licensing for Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, and both sides were interested in working with each other. By February of 1998, the deal was made and Lego Star Wars was born. In February 1999, Lego announced the release of this line at the North American International Toy Fair. There were 2 distinct lines that Lego released connected to Star Wars. There was 9 sets tied to Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, and there were 5 sets tied to the original trilogy. This was done to reach two types of Star Wars fans: the fans of the original trilogy and to the kids who were fans of the new movie in theaters. In 2000, the Ultimate Collector Series, or USC, took the stage with more accurate designed sets than previously released versions. By 2002, another 13 sets were released covering the original trilogy and Star Wars Attack of the Clones. In 2005, Star Wars Revenge of the Sith came out along with a line of LEGO Star Wars sets for the new movie and the original trilogy. And in 2008, the Death Star set became available, which became the most sought-after set in the series and of LEGO sets. LEGO Star Wars has continued onto this day and is still one of LEGO's most profitable licensed line of toys. Now, I was given the suggestion by Abby of the Dark Side. She had actually requested this, so I really wanted to do this one, and it was really cool because I really wanted to do a whole subject matter on LEGO Star Wars because I really like LEGO Star Wars. As you can see here, I've been building LEGO Star Wars, and this is just a couple of the things. Like I built this one for May the 4th Be With You, and these two sets I actually built as part of LEGO Star Wars because I figured for LEGO Star Wars, if I'm going to be doing the facts on them, I should be doing LEGO builds. So this was for the first one, for part 1. I'm going to have part 2 and 3 over the next 2 weeks. So I'm probably going to be putting part 2 out this week. I don't know exactly when, but I will also be doing a live build. I've got 2 additional sets here that I'll be doing live builds once I cover the facts. So the next fact about this is going to be the video games. So part 2 will be about the video games. But I definitely I wanted to make sure that I covered as much as I could from this particular series. And I do want to give special thanks to It's Sandman 45 and at Minifigured. These are 2 users that are on. If you go on the original fact that I posted on Wednesday, I actually included their information. I got a lot of research done by checking out their YouTube videos about LEGO Star Wars, because unfortunately I couldn't access, in the limited time that I had, the book which you see on screen, LEGO Star Wars: The Force of Creativity. This book is currently available on lego.com, and you can actually purchase it, and it gives the entire background story of not just the deal that LEGO made with Lucasfilm, but about all of the research and development about the LEGO Star Wars line up to a certain date. So this is basically the history of LEGO Star Wars to a certain point. So I highly recommend getting it. I'm actually going to be purchasing it myself. I'm waiting to save enough months because it's about $50. But honestly, this is the kind of book that I love to get because it's background story. I mean, I already have like 3 LEGO books on my bookshelf right now. One of them is the history of the minifigures, which includes the Star Wars minifigures. So I'm actually was going to touch on them in a future video. But the interesting thing about LEGO Star Wars is the fact that you get like these really cool minifigures. Like for those of you who actually know this one, this is Captain Rex. I actually got him from his Y-Wing set that came out. And the intricate detail that they go into on some of these guys is great. Like if you pull off the helmet, you can actually see that Rex actually has the patch from the episode of Clone Wars where he gets his chip taken out. And that's just a cool detail that I really loved about that. And another one that's that I have here, it's one of my all-time favorite characters, is Fives, which I got from the I believe it's the I think it's the tentative 4 hallway scene. It's either that or the Luke Skywalker hallway scene from Mandalorian. But I love the fact that you get this, and he actually does have the 5 that's on his forehead like that, and I just absolutely love that. And the detail they go into on this minifig is great. And so, and actually, the funny thing is, this is my second version. I have 2 versions of both Rex and Fives because they hadn't come out with Fives as a minifigure, so I really wanted one for my own, and I had no idea if they were going to come out with one. So I ended up going online to, I think it was either Etsy or one of the other sites, and I ended up purchasing them. And I purchased a lot of minifigures that way, just because I wanted my own version. Especially ones that I really liked. and there was one that had 5s on it that I really liked the way they did the painting and the figuring and all that on there. So I ended up getting him, and I really liked his armor and design. And there's ones that I've gotten of Jesse, Clone Trooper Jesse, and the Bad Batch, and a whole bunch of other minifigures. And that's the really great thing about Star Wars Lego, is that you get all these minifigures that are part of the collection, and there's even some special releases with some. And I don't recommend buying some of the big sets if you can't afford it just to get the minifigure, because like I found out, because the original minifigure of Rex was released with one of the larger ships, which I definitely could afford, which is the reason why I went online and purchased a separate one, because I knew I was never going to get it. 2 years after I purchased that minifigure, they came out with the Y-Wing version of Rex, so then everybody could get their minifigure of Rex. So Legos are always so fun. Absolutely, Kutzo. I absolutely agree. They are so awesome. Thanks for coming in, by the way. And that's the reason why I love Lego Star Wars. And when Abby suggested I do the Star Wars facts about Lego Star Wars, I really wanted to check it out. So I will definitely be going into a lot more detail about Lego Star Wars, but I highly recommend picking up Lego Star Wars: The Force of Creativity. It is just the bits and pieces that I saw from the videos, and I highly recommend going and checking out. It's it's Sandman45 and @minifigured. You can find them on YouTube. I believe they have accounts on TikTok as well, because they did some amazing research on Lego Star Wars and the facts behind the development of the figures and stuff like that. Silent Silk, welcome in. So I highly recommend checking them out because they are so cool, and just the detail they go into is great. And you can't always find the Lego books. Some of them, they actually do have them in stores. Like, I haven't seen Lego Star Wars Force of Creativity at any of the bookstores, at least that I've looked at. There's a few bookstores that actually do have them. Like, I know you can go to Barnes & Nobles, you can find a few, and some toy stores actually have them. The ones that I've actually picked up, I ended up picking up a Halloween book, and there was the minifigures book that I actually picked up at the Museum of Science and Industry here in Chicago, MSI. So you can always get these books pretty much everywhere. So the Lego Star Wars, The Force of Creativity, if you don't want to purchase it on Lego's site, I'm sure you could actually purchase it through another bookstore. There's a lot of low-level bookstores that I know they can order these kinds of books. So if you don't want to get the one at that price that's on Lego.com, I highly recommend looking around and see if you can find a better version. Someone might have even scanned the book, so it might have a digital version available somewhere. So if you have like a tablet or something and you want to be able to read the book that way, I highly recommend looking it up, see if it's available. Because the history of Lego Star Wars is so interesting. And this is the interesting thing that I found out about that, is that Lucasfilm and Lego, they wanted to work together. But again, this was back in the 1990s, before like social media really took off. So they had no idea the other was interested in the other until they actually contacted each other, and in a formal business sort of way, to actually find out if the other would be interested in working with the other. Because the whole thing was that so many of the guys who worked at Lego were fans of Star Wars, and there were so many fans of Star Wars, or guys that worked on Star Wars, that were fans of Lego, and they had their own sets and collections and stuff like that. So of course, as soon as the opportunity for them to work together, they jumped at the chance. I mean, it took less than a few months, and you can read this in the book, because the reason I know this is because Sandman45, he actually went into detail about some of the pages about the beginning and the whole thing that happened. So I highly recommend out of it from the videos, but I'm going to definitely purchase the book, and I'm going to read fully into it, because I'm really interested in this story. And the fact that it's a true example of where working together, two teams working together, can create something so awesome that everybody gets involved. I mean, think about it. Think about how popular Lego Star Wars is. I mean, everybody knew about Lego back in the day. But when Lego Star Wars and so many of the other franchises started coming, the other series, the licenses started coming, like Harry Potter and Ghostbusters and so many others. But Lego Star Wars, I mean, you've got people who are fans of Lego, but now you have people who are fans of both Star Wars and Lego and are building entire collections about them. I mean, just recently, you can go on TikTok right now, or YouTube, or whatever you want, or wherever your streaming service is, and you can look up about stuff like Brick World, the conventions that are just about Lego bricks, and you will see entire battles of a card table that are just about Lego Star Wars. I mean, I've seen ones where it's the the Bunta Eve races from Phantom Menace. It's the Battle of Hoth. Return of the Jedi with on Endor. I mean, scenes from Dagobah and the interconnection aspects of Tatooine, of Mos Eisley. I mean, you can find this stuff online, and then you could actually go to the conventions and see these massive Lego builds. They're just related to Star Wars. I mean, it's so cool. And not only that, but because of the combination of Lego and Star Wars, because Lego got into video games, boom, we got Lego Star Wars the video game, which is one of the things I'm going to be touching on the next the Star Wars Fact of the Day. I will be doing a part 2 specifically about the video games aspect about Lego Star Wars, but then in part 3 I will be going into the movies and TV and miniseries and online videos about Lego Star Wars. So stay tuned for those additional facts. They'll be coming up in the next 2 weeks, and I will be doing live one of those facts. So also stay tuned not only for the fact, but also for the live building events that I'll be doing for those. Okay, let's move on to the next fact. So Star Wars Fact of the Day. This is from Friday. Low Altitude Assault Transport, or LAAT, L-A-A-T-I, is a line of starships that mainly served as gunships and troop transports for the Grand Army of the Republic during the Clone Wars. The LAAT infantry gunships were first deployed during the Battle of Geonosis in 22 BBY as part of the Grand Army of the Republic. LAAT gunships attacked the Petraki Arena and rescued Senator Padme Amidala from Count Dooku. They saw military action at every engagement of the war and during the initial reign of the Empire. Republic gunship, its role was to transport clone troopers as well as offering air-to-ground and air-to-air support in combat zones for the Galactic Republic against the Confederacy of Independent Systems. Rugged combat-equipped repulsor craft, Republic attack gunships rained down blistering barrages of laser and rocket retribution against the droid forces of the Separatists. Each wing of the gunship was covered in weapons, offering air-to-ground and air-to-air support, as well as serving as infantry support. The front of the gunship features hunchback-style cockpit bubbles, wherein if the gunship and the pilot and co-pilot gunner sit in single file. Suburban Banger, welcome in. Chin-mounted on the craft are a pair of laser cannon turrets. On the gunship's dorsal surface is a primary armament, 2 massive rocket launchers fed by a rear-mounted missile belts. Beneath a surface layer of superficial armor plating, the LAAT was equipped with an inner layer of powered super-defensive armoring, which would spread the impact of enemy fire across the entire hull. It could also use its laser turrets to shoot down enemy missiles. When faced with overwhelming enemy fire, the gunships could close their blast shields. In a crash, the LAAT could deploy fire retardant, and both the cockpit canopy and side doors could be explosively blown off to allow escape before impact. The LAAT gunships could carry a full platoon of 30 clone troopers in its main hold. The use of powerful inertia compensators helped troopers to remain standing during their journey. It could also carry up to 2 AT-RT walkers or 4 speeder bikes. Now, I just really wanted to cover this because the LAATs were really a popular vehicle that you saw throughout the Clone Wars series, and they even showed up in some of the live-action parts of the movies, as well as we actually saw them in The Mandalorian and a bunch of others as well. And they're so interesting, and the really fun part for me personally was that they were first displayed in the Genndy Tartakovsky animated series. That was the first time we really saw them in animated form. I mean, they had made their appearance in the Attack of the Clones, but we had that section of time between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, and we really got to see them in action as a transport I mean, we saw them at the end of Attack of the Clones, but really in Genndy Tartakovsky's series, we really got to see them in full-blown action and all their different capabilities and stuff like that. I mean, me personally, my favorite was when we transitioned from Season 1 of the Clone Wars series into Season 2, and we got to see that rescue mission was done to save Jedi Master Cad-Mundi when he was being assaulted by General Grievous. And we got to see the one of those specially designed LAATs come in with the ARC Trooper force, and that was one of my favorite scenes because you really saw what these LAATs were capable of, and these gunships really could deliver a lot of heavy firepower on a battle scene. And I just really enjoyed watching that one, so I really wanted to include that. And the funny thing is, I was always expecting that at some point in time there was going to be a version of the LAAT was going to be released by Lego Star Wars or just by Star Wars with the kind of dragon face on the front of them that was used in that series, but unfortunately it never happened. So, but I did find out that there is a version that you can get a hold of. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say it's on either Etsy or one of the other fan sites, so you can actually order one of these LAAT transports that actually has the cool face on it. So I'd recommend checking it out. But the other interesting fact about these guys is that again, touching back on Lego Star Wars, the LAAT gunship was one of the more popular gunships ships that came out from the Clone Wars series. And a lot of fans are really a fan of these ships and really enjoy collecting them. I personally wasn't able to get a hold of one of them, but I didn't really want one, honestly, because they're, one, a little bit too big for me to actually store. I mean, most of the Star Wars sets that I have a limited space for them, so I kind of have to go small on them. But I still love getting like the sets and getting to play with them. And the building process is just so much fun, but getting to actually play with them is just so much fun. And the LAAT is just one of those versions, or one of those ships that's just, it's just really cool to get to check out. And I love seeing some of them in some of the builds that I've seen at some of the cons. They're really well designed, and when you get to see them with all the builds and stuff like that, they're just really cool. But I love seeing them in action in the animated series, especially Clone Wars, and even them showing up in Bad Batch. But the really fun one was when we first are introduced to the Bad Batch, and they actually, Tank ends up using the side door from a LAAT as their shield as they're moving forward, that they were able to take out that entire division of droids. I mean, that was so cool. But it really shows the versatility of those doors and how durable they actually were. So I highly recommend checking out Clone Wars and watching these things in action, both the Genndy Tartakovsky series and the Clone Wars series that was done by Disney Plus and showed them on Disney XD. So I honestly say check them out because they are so cool. They were such great vehicles that we got to see in the movies and stuff like that, and they were used so often. It was just really cool. Okay, so that pretty much is it for the Star Wars facts for this week. Thanks to everybody that came in, and thanks so much for tapping on the screen and giving me all the likes.